Assassin's Creed Shadows is a game that I honestly had zero expectations for. The game was wrapped up in controversy after controversy and delay after delay. I even made a video on it way back in September explaining why this game is Ubisoft's last chance on getting it right and saving their company. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it and get it out of the way. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the best AC game since Origins. Now look, it isn't perfect and it isn't some super new, groundbreaking game for the franchise, but I genuinely haven't felt this way about an AC game since Origins. The world is gorgeous, the gameplay is really fucking good, and the story's but that's okay because the world and gameplay definitely make up for it. So, let's talk about AC Shadows, what it does right, what could be improved, and why Assassin's Creed Shadows is the best Assassin's Creed game in 8 years. I'm going to start off this video a little different and go straight into the story. The narrative is so interwoven into everything that this game does that I feel like it's only right if I talk about it first. Basically, AC Shadows is set in 16th century Japan and follows the story of Naoe and her quest to get revenge for the death of her father. Along the way, she meets a black samurai known as Yasuke, and they work together to try and find the order that took her father's life. This game is unique in the fact that it has two protagonists with two different stories, backgrounds, and gameplay styles. But Naoe is definitely the main character, as it is her dad that died and her revenge, and she's your typical stealthy assassin as well. The premise and story themselves are honestly fine. It's your bog standard revenge plot, and in my opinion, something that's been done better in Assassin's Creed already with Unity and Origins. But off the bat, you can tell that this game has a lot of story to tell. The opening 2 hours of the game are honestly all cutscene, and it's a little boring. The story in general is honestly very serious. Every character talks with a serious tone and only really says serious things. It gives the vibe that the game wants you to take the story seriously, but that's kind of hard to do. For one, the voice acting for Naoe is very shoddy. Sometimes, with the motion capture in the cutscenes and the dialogue that accompanies it, it's hard to see the emotion Naoe is trying to convey. Yasuke's voice acting is a little better, but it's still not perfect. But also, it's just hard to connect with these characters. Serious stories hit so much harder when there are moments of lightheartedness in the dialogue as well. Us as players don't connect with characters when all they talk about is avenging their father, or if they only focus on what's in front of them that will help them achieve that goal. Us as players connect with these characters when we see their personalities, what they maybe do for fun, what brings them joy, how they interact with the people around them when their guard is down. There simply just aren't enough of those moments in the narrative. On top of that, the side characters just aren't very interesting at all. Jinjiro is alright, but I've played the game for almost 30 hours, and honestly, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you any other side character's name outside of him, which says something about the personalities of these side characters. The quest design is also kind of your standard AC quest design, meaning it's not bad at all. You get a target you need to kill, you go around learning clues on where he might be and how you can get close to them, and then when the time is right, you strike. One thing they added in the game that's unique is that whenever you get a quest, you don't know the exact location of where to go. You get a couple of descriptors of the general area, and it's up to you to try and find it. You can use a scout, but you only have a fixed amount of them each season, so it may not be worth it to send a scout out on it. I like this change a lot. It's reminiscent of a game that I recently reviewed and love, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This type of system helps eliminate some of the monotony of getting a quest, traveling to the waypoint on your map, completing the quest, and then traveling to the next one. This system makes you slow down and think in between, which is something that I really like. Look, overall, the story isn't my favorite. It's characterized by weak performances from the main characters, forgettable side characters, and a plot that's been done before better twice. But even as someone who considers themselves a narrative first gamer, I've been okay with not being that invested in the story simply because the world and gameplay are that good. Speaking of the world, let's talk about it. So, like I mentioned earlier, AC Shadows is set in Japan. And let me tell you, this world is amazing. For one, it's stunningly beautiful. There's been very few games that make me stop and go, wow, when I look at them. It goes Red Dead Redemption 2, Cyberpunk, and now Assassin's Creed Shadows. From the rolling hills to the surprisingly vast and detailed cities, all with NPCs around doing their thing, this game is incredibly immersive in this respect. Ubisoft also went out of their way to add seasons to the game. Once a certain amount of time in game has passed, you'll get a cutscene where the season of the world changes. This season change not only affects the look of the game, but also changes gameplay up, which I'll get into later. But as far as the look of the game goes, each season tangibly makes a difference. Summer will have large grassy fields and beautiful waterfalls. Fall will have orange leaves on the ground and throughout the world, and will be exceptionally windy. Winter will have snow on the ground and on the trees, and small rivers and ponds will be frozen over. And spring will be green and rainy. All of it just plays so well into the immersion of Japan that this game creates. Look, Japan is one of my favorite places in the world, and I'm obviously a bit biased when it comes to that, but this game, like Ghost of Tsushima, does Japan justice. The one complaint I have about the world is the exploration. It's not bad at all, but when the hills and forests look good from a distance, they're an absolute pain to travel through. There will be times when I need to go to a place that's, say, 600 meters away. I set the waypoint on my map and I begin traveling there. From a distance, the easiest way to get there would be to cut through the hills and forests, but it's incredibly hard to do so because of the fact that the forests are so dense with trees that you can't see anything, and the hills are so steep that you can't climb over them. Because of this, the game incentivizes you to turn on Pathfinder, which essentially just highlights the path with pre-created trails that you could take to get to the waypoint. It takes away from that exploration a little bit when you're basically forced a lot of the time to stick to the main paths simply because you physically cannot traverse through the dense forests and hills. Other than that, though, I really don't have many complaints with the world. Ubisoft has always been great about creating beautiful and dense open worlds, and that stays true with AC Shadows. Yes, it's Japan, and that gets some extra bonus points from me, but even if you're indifferent about the setting, the world is gorgeous and absolutely worth appreciating. The last aspect of this game that I want to talk about is the gameplay. Now, to me, this is where the majority of the changes have been made to AC Shadows, and in my opinion, provide a tangible benefit to the game. Let's start with the dual protagonists. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can play either as Yasuke, a samurai, or Naoe, a skilled shinobi. Both are incredibly different playstyles, and one is definitely my preferred method. Yasuke is a big samurai brute that has absolutely no skill when it comes to parkour, stealth, or anything else that comes with that. He is a major departure from your typical Assassin's Creed protagonist, and because of this, I didn't use him very often. For one, he's incredibly overpowered. If you use Yasuke to infiltrate a temple, there will be no stealth involved. Instead, you're going to be barging in, defeating all the enemies, and moving on from there. This makes using Yasuke essentially like playing on easy mode. There's no need to engage with the incredible light and dark mechanics where you're more hidden at night or in shadows compared to when in broad daylight or under a lamp. And he can't really parkour, so there's no reason to get to a high vantage point and look out and survey your surroundings for guards and loot. You go in blind and you work your way through. On top of that, because of his lack of parkour, he's tough to use when you want to get the loot. Sometimes the loot is in hard to reach places or areas where it would be easier to climb up into a window. Yasuke simply can't do that, and because of that, he's kinda useless when doing the fortress missions simply because one of the main objectives of those missions is to secure loot. This is why Naue is way more fun to use. She's still decent in open combat, which ensures that if you're ever caught sneaking around, you're not completely screwed, but she relies way more on stealth and assassinations, which I much prefer, especially since there are way more new systems in the game that complement stealth really well. I touched on it earlier, but the light and dark system for the stealth is really cool. Essentially, you're incentivized to sneak around at night because it's harder for enemies to see you. But on top of that, being hidden in shadows or being out in the moonlight also affect your visibility. You can go out in broad daylight, and if you're hidden under the shroud of a shadow, it makes it harder for the enemy to see you. It's the same for at night. Your overall visibility is already lowered because it's already nighttime, so it's darker, but entering shrouded areas now completely hides you. Being on a roof also doesn't fully hide you now. Enemies can look up and see you and alert other enemies around, which is cool to see. There's also a new prone system. The devs gave us clever hiding spots under houses to use this new mechanic as well, which is also great to see. There's also that season system that I was talking about. It doesn't just function as a clever way to change up the aesthetic of the world, there are actual gameplay changes that affect how you play the game. Strong blizzards during the winter season and heavy tropical storms during the spring and fall season affect your visibility of not only the enemies, but of you as well. It gets harder to see the enemies, obstacles, and loot, which is a cool immersive element, but also makes it slightly harder to infiltrate fortresses during one of those storms. In the winter, I mentioned how some ponds and lakes freeze over. This prevents you from swimming in them, which eliminates a potential hiding spot or a way to get around a fortress without being seen, making infiltration harder in the winter. There'll also be icicles on the roof, and if you parkour up onto a roof, the icicles will fall, alerting the enemy to a sound. All these things in the season actually change gameplay up while also adding immersion to the game, which I love. Outside of the combat and base infiltration, which is the majority of the game, there are a couple of other gameplay systems to talk about. The side activities in this game are honestly just okay. There's a decent amount of them to do. There's meditation, horseback, archery, temples, shrines, collecting lost pages, and even more, but all of it really only serves to give you XP, and none of those activities take more than 5 minutes, which means that they're pretty easy to skip. The other side activity that I really do like is base building. Like Fallout 4 or Starfield, you're given a massive plot of land and told to build stuff on it. There's some buildings that upgrade the amount of scouts you get, or improve some of your companions' abilities, or allow you to upgrade your weapons. There's a surprising amount of customization you can have with it, and you can definitely have some fun making your base your own. The materials you use for the building and upgrading are found throughout the world, so you're incentivized to go out into the world, infiltrate those fortresses, and get some loot. The last aspect of the gameplay worth talking about is the progression. It's honestly a pretty standard RPG progression system with absolutely nothing groundbreaking. You can get XP from completing missions, clearing bases, doing side activities, and once you level up, you can spend your points on a number of skill trees given to Yasuke and Naue. These trees give you new abilities, increased damage, and also more. The weapons and armor you find out in the wild are honestly generally pretty good, so unless you have a legendary you really love, you're constantly switching out weapons for better ones, which is welcome. Overall though, the gameplay is really good. Yasuke isn't great, but that's okay. You can ignore him for almost as long as you want, and when you do want to use him, he'll be properly leveled since each level up gives you XP points for both the characters. It's still Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft didn't completely change the gameplay and make it super hardcore and gritty, but again, they don't have to. The Assassin's Creed formula is solid, and they made meaningful changes that are almost all good. Look, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a game that I have been pleasantly surprised with. In this particular instance, Ubisoft heard the feedback. They heard that Valhalla was too big. Odyssey didn't feature enough Brotherhood in it, and that stealth was being thrown to the wayside, and that there wasn't enough big cities that made Assassin's Creed what it is. And they fixed most of it. It is still distinctly an RPG Assassin's Creed game, a trend that started with Origins, but it does capture some of that essence from the older games. The story is a little boring, but that's okay because everything else is honestly kinda great. Shadows has been my favorite Assassin's Creed game since Origins. I love Origins, and I don't think Shadows beats that game simply because Origins' narrative is so thoughtful, but Shadows comes damn close in the beauty and immersion of the world and is better in gameplay. I just hope Ubisoft continues this trend throughout their franchises. Finish the game, do it the right way, innovate. Even if that means you have to delay the game to do so, give gamers a game worth playing, and only then will Ubisoft win back the trust of gamers. Either way, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this type of content, make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing to see more content like this. My last video was a review on Avowed. I also have videos on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and many more. If you want to support me further, consider becoming a channel member either here on YouTube or on Patreon. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. It's CGG. I'm out.